Democrats in D.C. called for the National Guard because crime was so bad.
D.C.'s leaders struggled to get the crisis under control. One Democratic councilman is now calling for military intervention.
We just know that police alone is not getting it done. We're simply asking our federal partners for help and presence in our community because we know that officers who have a handgun can combat 3 people with AR-15s and AK-47s shooting down the street.
So Trump answered those calls and took over D.C. and sent in the National Guard.
This is Liberation Day in D.C. and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
So if you've watched this channel, you've heard about the horror show, which is Washington, D.C. And we've talked about it many times on this channel. Now, for those of you who don't watch most of my videos, let me give you a quick recap. For example, you don't need citizenship in Washington, D.C. to vote. They allow non-citizens to vote in elections.
We are just 2 days out from D.C.'s primary. A new group of voters are casting their first ever ballot. Last year, a new law allowed non-citizens to vote, and it's causing controversy nationally.
The city council unanimously passed the legislation in 2022.
The consent agenda is approved unanimously.
Now, D.C. goes even farther. For instance, if you're a non-citizen, you can actually be mayor of D.C. or even be on the city council. Yes. Non-citizens can hold public office in D.C.
The mayor of the District of Columbia could be a non-citizen.
Technically, it sounds like you're about right.
Committee Chair Anita Bonds went on to explain the rationale.
If you reside in the District of Columbia, that you have the rights of everyone else because you're paying taxes. And your children are in our school system.
D.C. is run by Democrats, and Democrats were all in for BLM. So they decided to essentially defund their police department in a very unique way. Just don't hire any new police officers.
We're back now with a tough admission from D.C.'s police chief. He told us the city's police department hasn't been this small in nearly 50 years, and it comes at a time when even the mayor admits fear of violent crime is high.
The department has had fewer than 3,400 members since December. 430 fewer officers now than we did in 2019, and likely the lowest number of officers since at least the 1970s. It will take more than a decade to reach 3,800 sworn officers if we are able to sustain even modest net gains in staffing each year.
Think about that, fewer officers than in the 1970s.
But D.C. wasn't finished. They said, well, we're cutting the police department, but we're also going to change the laws to make it easier for criminals to get out of jail. Their change was so bad that even the left-wing lunatic Biden administration rejected their changes to the law because Biden, again, listen to this Biden administration, thought it was too light on crime.
Talk to the team, and we have a couple of things that I just want to lay out for all of you and on what the D.C. bill does. It reduces maximum penalties for offenses like murders and other homicides, armed home invasion burglaries, armed carjackings, as I mentioned, armed robberies, unlawful gun possession, and some sexual assault offenses.
So D.C. has a double whammy. You defund the police department and then you pass laws to make it easier on the criminals. So what do you think happened? Crime exploded.
Political headlines, of course, are dominating the message from the nation's capital. The city's leaders are now sounding the alarm over a much different crisis on the streets. Violent crime jumped 37% from last year, according to the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Homicide is up 28%, with robbery up an alarming, get this, 60%. Now, a city council member is calling for the National Guard to help restore order.
Democrats in Washington, D.C. were begging President at the time, Joe Biden, to send the National Guard into D.C. to help with the crime because crime was so bad. I have that clip.
But as D.C.'s leaders struggle to get the crisis under control, one Democratic councilman is now calling for military intervention.
There's a spirit of anarchy and lawlessness rampant through our communities. I've never seen this onslaught of violence portrayed on our women and our kids. And enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
We are clearly in a war zone. So I have spoken with the D.C. National Guard. And while I have to have more conversations with the chief of police, which I have today, and the mayor and my colleagues. We have a long way to get there. We just know that police alone is not getting it done. We're simply asking our federal partners for help and presence in our community because we know that officers who have a handgun can combat 3 people with AR-15s and AK-47s shooting down the street.
Now, you'd think that would be bad enough, but it doesn't stop here. See, crime became so out of control in DC that stores had to close because police weren't arresting people doing things like shoplifting.
A D.C. council member is sounding the alarm tonight over the wide-reaching impact of crime. Ward 8 council member Trayon White today said if rampant shoplifting continues, the Giant on Alabama Avenue in Southeast may be forced to close its doors. News 4's Mauricio Casillas looks into what this would mean for food insecurity in the district and what's being done to keep that store open.
We're going to work with Giant to keep this open.
A call to action to save an oasis of sorts in what is otherwise a food desert in Southeast DC.
Taken from this store is really taken from yourself.
Councilmember Trayon White says he's met with management and Giant who tell him they lost hundreds of thousands of dollars due to shoplifting in this store alone.
We know it's tough times, and we know the price of food has skyrocketed in the last 3 years. That's right, yeah. But we cannot afford to hurt ourselves by constantly taking from the store, because that means that everybody is going to be without a place to eat, and enough is enough.
So Democrats who lived in D.C. were begging for help. They were begging for the National Guard. They were begging for assistance. Crime was out of control. You see, even their elected representatives are begging for help. So now I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Nate, crime in Washington, D.C. has decreased by 29% in the last year. It was 30% last year. Crime is going down in D.C. Everybody's saying it.
It's also worth noting that violent crime in Washington is actually falling dramatically. After a spike immediately following the pandemic, the violent crime rate in D.C. has been steadily going down ever since. Even one violent crime is too many, of course, but the rate is now at a 30-year low.
Now, if you believe that, I don't blame you. CNN is saying that. And even the left-wing lawyers here on YouTube are saying that too.
They should know violent offenses in D.C. are down 29% compared to the numbers of 2024. And generally speaking, these numbers are part of historically low crime statistics as well.
As all of this is going on, violent crime in D.C. is down 26% from last year. Shouldn't Trump actually just be taking credit for that? That might he might finally, even though it has nothing to do with Trump and, it really has nothing to do with Trump, Biden, or the presidents, he could take credit for that, as many presidents would try to do. Carjackings down 37%. But in Trump world, the facts don't really matter. It's just about perception. And if the perception helps Donald Trump to justify another power grab, another soft launch of martial law, he's good.
So that should settle it, right? Crime is down in D.C. What is Trump doing? But obviously, I'm showing you those clips of these people saying these things because they're being deceptive and they're actively lying to you. Why? Because they've failed to tell you that those crime stats aren't accurate. Matter of fact, they're doctored. The stats are so bad that a police commander in D.C. was suspended for doctoring the crime stats that they're talking about, making it seem like crime was going down when it wasn't the case.
A D.C. police commander is under investigation for allegedly making changes to crime statistics in his district. Tonight, the police department confirms Michael Pulliam was placed on paid administrative leave in mid-May.
The D.C. Police Union is putting its allegations on the record tonight, claiming police supervisors in the department are manipulating crime data to make it appear violent crime has fallen considerably when compared to last year. As of today, according to the D.C. Police website, crime is down 25%, a decrease the chairman of the police union calls preposterous. The union's allegations come as the former commander of the 3rd District stands accused of doing what the union says is being done day in and day out.
When management officials are directing officers to take reports for felony assault, or if they're going back into police databases and changing offenses to felony assault is not a category of crime that's listed on the department's daily crime stats. It's also not something that's a requirement of the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program. So by changing criminal offenses from, for example, ADW bat or ADW gun to felony assault, that would avoid both the MPD and the FBI from reporting that as a Part 1 or a felony offense.
So as you can see, CNN, Legal Eagle, and David Pakman didn't mention the fact that the numbers, the crime data that they're citing as saying crime is lower in DC are probably doctored, and someone's actually been punished for doctoring them. But you wouldn't know that if you just watched those shows. Now, one thing you're going to hear about is the fact that Trump is doing this to DC. He wants to do this to other cities like New York and Chicago, and he can't do anything like that. Matter of fact, here's my boy D. Miller from D Law, and he's going to explain to you the law.
Let's jump right into it. So what gives President Trump the power to come in and take over D.C.? President Trump is calling it Liberation Day 2.0. We've seen it before with the tariffs. Let's see what the Constitution has to say about this. To understand how this is even possible, you have to understand what makes D.C. unique. Washington, D.C. is not a state, it's not a county, it's not even a regular city. It's a federal district created by the United States Constitution itself. U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. This gives Congress the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district as may become the seat of government of the United States. So that exclusive legislation means that Congress can do whatever it wants, however it wants, the way it wants to in D.C. For most of its history, D.C.'s been run directly by Congress. In 1973, Congress passed the District of Columbia Home Rule Act, letting D.C. elect its own mayor and city council. So Congress has allowed the district to elect anyone they want to for this particular position. They've even elected someone who was caught on tape smoking crack, and they elected him twice. Marion Barry was his name. Unbelievable.
How the hell Marion Barry get his job back? Smoke crack got his job back. How the hell that happened? I mean, if you get caught smoking crack at McDonald's, you can't get your job back. That's right. They're not going to trust you around the Happy Meals. They'll send your ass to Hardee's. Smoke crack got his job. All I want to know, who ran against him that they lost? Who was so bad they lost to a crackhead?
But here's the catch. Congress still kept ultimate authority. Under Section 740 of the Home Rule Act, the president can assume direct command of the Metropolitan Police Department. That's the section Trump cited when he announced the takeover.
Going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
By invoking Section 740, he removed the mayor's control over the police department and installed his own federal commissioner. So this obviously leads to the question, can this happen anywhere? Chicago, New York, in your city? Well, the answer is no. Unlike New York, Chicago, or LA, DC's local autonomy exists only because Congress allows it to. If Congress or the president decide to step in, local authorities have no veto. It's the same reason Congress can block DC from spending its own tax revenue on certain programs, and why a president can deploy federal agencies or even the National Guard here without any state approval. But the Constitution does not give them authority to take over any city in the United States. That's what makes DC unique.
Okay, so now you know it's 100% legal, and you understand that crime is a problem in DC, and the media is trying to lie to you to make it seem like there is no crime problem in DC. So, is there a crime problem in DC? Obviously there is. Matter of fact, people in the media started feeling some way about the lies about DC being this utopia and started giving their own experiences. These are left-wing media personalities giving their own experiences about being robbed and about their friends being robbed in DC. Check it out.
I can tell you firsthand here in downtown DC where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, there were 2 people shot. One One person died literally 2 blocks down here from the Bureau. It was within the last 2 years that I actually was jumped walking just 2 blocks down from here. And then just this morning, one of my coworkers said her car was stolen. It's happened to a lot of people in our building, sadly. He was homeless and half-dressed, clearly wasn't in his clear mind. It was scary as hell, I'm not going to lie, but I fought back. I didn't see any weapons in his hands. I felt like it was my only choice. The president did mention that this effort is also going to help clean up homelessness. As we know, many members of the homeless community, sadly, take it upon themselves, like what happened to me, to carry out violence.
I don't care what the crime statistics say. Crime has been a problem in this city for the 32 years I've been living inside and outside of the city. It's just, even now, Meek and I, we're talking to somebody who lives in the city. These are all Democrats who said, our friends won't walk more than 3 blocks in D.C. at night without feeling complete opposite of New York City.
So now, this is something that is obvious, right? DC is a hellhole. It is a hellscape. Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats don't want to call it a hellscape, even though they were the ones begging for the National Guard. They were the ones begging for help. They were the ones saying that we need people to help us stop crime, right? These were the Democrats in DC. And Trump essentially gave them what they were asking for. So now, at the end of the day, I think what Trump is doing is correct. I think he saw a problem and he jumped on it immediately. Why do people continue to need to be harmed and robbed and allow these lunatics in DC to just do whatever they want, even though it's hurting the people there in DC? And those are black people, people of color, low income people. Those are the people being hurt by the Democrats' own policies in DC. As always, tell me where I'm wrong in the comments section. And if you're listening to me right now at this part of the video and haven't subscribed to the channel, you're killing me. You're obviously killing me. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you. But I'm going to say it. I think it's sad because the Republicans have come into DC and said, we're going to fix this problem that's been there for 30 years. Everyone knows crime is bad. Everyone understands where crime is. And no one did anything about it. And now the fact that someone is doing something about it seems to upset the Democrats who were doing nothing about it. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comments section. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out. Peace.